Morning or good afternoon. Hi, everybody.
Hello, folks. Thanks for being here.
We're going to let some people stream in for just another minute, but it's nice to see some familiar faces and names and some new folks too. Shasta's dealing with a blizzard
people to join.
April's sitting there on the beach, so that's cool. Shasta's in snow. I'm apparently floating in the sky. I love to see people's backgrounds. We would love it if you turn on your webcam because these are going to be interactive. If you've been in one of our trainings before, you might have had the luxury of kind of hanging back and here and listening quite for a long time and off camera. But this one, we're really hoping to be co-created with you, and we're going to be facilitating a lot of conversations. So we'd love it if you could turn your cam on. It is optional though, if you're not comfortable today. All right, well, why don't we go ahead and get things going? I just want to say a hello and a thank you so much for registering to participate in our brand new training. This training is the Tribal Health and Adaptation Peer Learning Roundtable webinars. So we're going to be meeting once a month for the next year. So we are a new little club, and it's going to be exciting to get to know you. And that's what we're going to do today. A lot of what we do today is going to be getting to know helping you get to know what's in store for you in this training and get to know you and some of your interests and your needs. For now, go ahead and put yourself on mute, and we'll get to some interaction in just a bit. But it was interesting in the survey, folks that did respond to the survey, about 65% of you haven't actually taken a training with us before. So excited to learn about your experiences and just really learn alongside you over the next year. So like I said, we're going to be facilitating a lot of conversations to help each other exchange knowledge. And in fact, you're going to help us co-create these trainings. So today we're actually going to try to nail down the most useful schedule of topics possible. So lots to discuss. Just a little bit of housekeeping. If you aren't familiar with Zoom, we'd love for you to turn your camera on, like we said. So you'd be looking for this little stop video icon or start video icon. If you have questions, you can raise your hand or use the chat box, and that's what that looks like. There's also an opportunity, if you like emojis, to use those to express any kind of emotion you may be having or agreement you may be having. And you can also raise your hand that way. We do ask you to mute yourself during presentations or when you're just not ready to speak, so we can avoid some background noise. But with that, I want to introduce Shasta Gaughan, who is the lead of the Tribal Climate Health Project, and she's going to introduce herself and what we've been up to at the Tribal Climate Health Project.
Thanks, Angie, and it's great to see you. So many familiar faces and names. Thank you for being here. Today, I am coming to you from the lands of the Cheyenne and Arapaho nations, and because I'm in Denver, I am at the Tribal Energy Conference, part of the Department of Energy that they require you to do if you have a DOE Tribal Energy grant. But I'm glad to be with you all today. It's snowing here, and so this Southern California girl is completely beside herself because I don't know what to do with this crazy white stuff. I am the director of the Pala Environmental Department for the Pala Band of Mission Indians, Payom-Coachum Territory, San Diego, California. And I've worked for Pala for 18 years. I'm also the Tribal Historic Preservation Officer. And I am just really glad to see all of you and to welcome you to the first of these 12 webinars. And do you want to go on to the next slide? All right, so I want to talk to you just briefly about where this project started and the work that we've been doing for the last several years. We were fortunate to get funding from initially the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency to do work on tribal climate change adaptation and health specifically, integrating health concerns into vulnerability assessments and adaptation plans. And we have partnered on this project with Prosper Sustainably, which is Angie's consulting company. And we've developed a lot of different trainings and materials, outreach, meetings, seminars, webinars, conferences that are all part of the Tribal Climate Health Project. That includes a website and resource clearinghouse that we are in the midst of updating, doing development of data tools that tribes can use to help inform their vulnerability assessments and adaptation plans. And a lot of what we're doing in this particular webinar series, which is intertribal sharing. What we really hope to gain from this particular series is all of you who have been doing this work for a while and have some experience, we want you to be able to help one another and help us by talking about your experiences and giving advice and providing that kind of peer mentoring and peer sharing that is so important for all of us as we continue down this path towards climate readiness. Angie, I'm gonna shift it back to you.
All right. Well, thank you, Shasta, and thanks for all your leadership over these 6 years. And thank you all again for being here. I'm going to give you a little overview of the training, but let me start by telling you a little bit about who I am. I'm Angie Hacker. I've been super honored to work with the Paula Band of Mission Indians and specifically Shasta for the 6 years since the program was initially established. And I've been doing community scale sustainability work for about 20 years. And just some of my favorite projects that I get to work on in the last 6 or so years have been tribal adaptation work. So I've been doing that work with tribes directly and then helping to support this, which is really more of a capacity building program where we're trying to help tribes across the country prepare themselves and adapt effectively as much as they can to the effects of climate change, especially those effects that impact our health. And so that's what this training is really all about. And Shasta did a good job of introducing it. You know, we are aware, having done this work for so long, that tribes are the first to know that there are countless ways that health and the environment, that health is affected by what happens in our environment. And as our global climate is changing, we are experiencing just how much life on Earth depends on, is shaped by, and affects climate. And we really created this training because we've been at this for 6 years. We've been developing these trainings oftentimes with folks in mind that haven't started this work, and helping them prepare, cope, build resilience, recover to the health and other impacts of climate change. And there's so much of that work still needed. However, some of you have really gotten a long head start. I've been at this for a while. And so some of you are recognizing that you're on your way and you've identified maybe your key climate vulnerabilities, or maybe you've already begun implementing planned adaptation and resilience strategies. And you guys are the ones that are forging ahead where there really is no textbook. And we thought you'd benefit from special support, ideas, and lesson sharing among your peers as all of you continue to blaze the trail. So we're just grateful for the work that you're out there doing and excited to learn from you. And so this is really for tribal serving practitioners, both in the environmental and health profession, who have gained some level of transferable real world climate and health knowledge and are willing to share it with each other. Actually, one more thing before I move to that next slide, which is so many of you in the survey that we asked you to fill out, we're just, you're really on spot here. You're in the right place. I'm hearing things like we want to further develop capacity through the exchange of ideas to exposure and improved approaches to climate and health work. They want to learn more, speak the language, and do their part to steward and serve the people in the land. You want to hear about the experiences of others to prevent the attempt of reinventing the wheel. I liked that one. So these are just what we're hearing from your fellow registrants. They want to hear about the challenges and successes in implementing climate adaptation, planning into things like even hazard mitigation. And we'll talk about all of that. But you're in the right place. And I'm so glad that you see this need as well. So as we begin the training, just getting on the same page with a couple of key terms. So what is climate adaptation? You all already know, but let's just say it out loud. Climate change adaptation or climate adaptation means taking action to prepare for and adjust to both the current and projected impacts of climate change. And we talk about health adaptation, we're talking about health adaptation efforts, which encompass various policies, programs, and interventions aimed to reduce the health risks associated with climate change. And we've got a lot of objectives for the series, which I'm not going to read in detail because we're kind of already alluded to a lot of it, but we are hoping to deepen your understanding. And a lot of this has to do with this bottom piece, which is gathering knowledge. And you're going to hear us talk about something called a wisdom well. And so that just gives me an opportunity to tell you what that means. Part of what we're going to be doing over the course of these 12 sessions is gathering your input on what the challenges are, what the successes are, what best practices and lessons are you learning. We're going to try to just compile those into something that we're calling a wisdom well, which is something we're planning to archive and potentially share with others as they are doing their own work. Maybe they're a little further behind than you are, and they could learn from some of the lessons you've already gained. So just know that, all along with this being recorded, we're also going to be gathering some of that input, and all of this is intended to be useful across for tribes across the country. And you've probably seen this. This is our overview this is a proposed overview of our series. So all the dates are pretty much locked in. We're going to meet the third Thursday of every month at the same time. And so that's going to be pretty standard. They're 2-hour webinars. So we really appreciate you making this commitment of time. And so this is the schedule by date. And then we've got a series of topics. So you probably saw this online, but what I want to mention is this was intended to be a draft, and the input you've already begun to provide over the survey is helping us rethink where we might shuffle things around a little bit. So it's the most effective conversations that we can be having. So we're taking into account what experience and expertise you're bringing to the table and where you are most interested, and then some other ideas that you may have. So we're going to talk a little bit later about how we can adjust this slightly to best fit the needs of this group. All right, so I'm going to pass it back to Shasta for a facilitated conversation around developing community agreements.
Thanks, Angie. So I decided that we should have a little bit of a conversation about what our expectations are as participants in this series. And I've seen this done in-person meetings, and I think that we should use this opportunity for this online meeting as well to talk about what we think are the best practices for all of us to be coming together in this space and talking about this work. So that might sound a little bit abstract. So let me make it a little bit more concrete by giving some examples of what I mean by community agreements. And Serena is going to be putting these into our mural board, even though it says Shastagon on the pointer. That's because I own the account. So that's not actually me typing things. So if Serena makes a spelling mistake, it's not me. But community agreements are things that revolve around how we are going to relate to one another within this space and what are the agreed upon rules of engagement. So for example, one of the community agreements might be, to the degree possible, keep your camera on so that we can see your face and see that you're participating. Another agreement may be, don't take or be respectful of time and aware that other people may also want to speak. So to be concise in summarizing your remarks. Those are the kinds of things we're talking about. And I know I'm putting you on the spot right from the get-go as we start here, but we would like to hear from others about what you think good community agreements are with one another as we go through this year-long 12 webinar series. And you can put those in the chat, or you can raise your hand and we will call on you. If you don't know how to raise your hand, if you go to the bottom of your screen, you can hit the reactions button, click on that, and then it has a raise hand option. Or if you're like me, you can just unmute yourself and start talking. Although that might be the other community agreement, which could be, wait to be called on, don't interrupt, that kind of thing. So now I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to see if anybody's going to raise their hand or unmute themselves and suggest an agreement for how we should go forward in this space. Don't make me call on you.
Well, I have one that I think was reflected in the survey, so I'm just going to say we're going to do our best to elevate a variety of tribal voices. And so that's a really big goal of ours, is to highlight your experiences throughout each of these trainings. And you'll see how we're doing that later.
And we do have a hand. So Serena Damaso, I apologize that I'm not going to try to pronounce the middle parts of your name. I'd love to hear the right way to say those. So please, Serena, go ahead.
Good morning, I know we're doing introductions later, but I wanted to say what is said here stays here. If it's something that is very personal, that we leave it here when we leave. So something I do with my clients.
That's wonderful. Thank you. What is said here stays here. And I also want to point out, because Angie mentioned that we are recording, if there is anything that is confidential, anything that is sensitive, anything that you don't want included in the recording, at any time you can say that it's going to be off the record, and we can edit the recording to make sure that those confidential and sensitive topics are not included for anybody else's consumption. So, okay. Who else has ideas about our community agreements?
So I want to know who owns the information and who has access to it, because this has potential to share some stuff.
You mean the information that we're gathering in these meetings?
Yes, ma'am.
So it's because it's a grant that is Paula's grant. You could technically say that Paula owns the information, but I don't like to use the ownership, because you own the information. Whatever you decide to share with us is under your ownership and under your control. So this is the kind of thing where we're trying to create something that other people can learn from, and we want to be able to share it so that other people can learn. But like I said, if there's something that's sensitive or you don't want included as part of the public presentation of these webinars, we can take it out.
And how do we access it if, say we talked about something and it's like, oh, I want to check that out again later?
We can have a possibility where we can make the recordings available just to the group initially, and you could watch it. And if there's something that you were uneasy about, we could edit it before making it public.
Thank
The
you.
other way we can do this too, just logistically, is to we can pause recording
That too, yeah.
live, so that we don't even have it.
Yeah, so we can put that. We can make a pause recording on request. All right, anybody else? I can make some other suggestions to give you an idea, and some of these are really good suggestions already. Now, obviously, the things like being respectful of time, and oh, good, I see a hand, Kendra.
I think along the lines of what Kimberly was saying, will there be some kind of a Google Drive or something like that we can access or share as we develop information?
That's a great idea. And we can either create a Google Drive or some other sort of shared access, whether it's Google or OneDrive or Dropbox, or also on our website, the Tribal Climate Health Project website, we have a lot of materials that we post there. So that would be another place where you could access these materials. But I think that's a great idea, that we're going to be co-producing things. So to have something in a drive where people can add to some of the documents, I think is a great idea. So, for our agreements, we could say sharing knowledge co-producing knowledge and making it accessible. All right, looking around for other hands. And I see Osamu, you gave a +1 for the shared drive, so thank you for that. And in general, I think a lot of times it's hard to come up with some of these ideas for community agreements because a lot of them are things that we do automatically, like be respectful of others, don't interrupt. And one that I've seen a lot lately is give full attention, which means don't have your iPad up in front of your computer at the same time or be taking phone calls. And that's one of the reasons why we like to have people's cameras on, because it helps people to be fully engaged in what we're doing. So I want to point out, not seeing any other hands or people unmuting themselves, I want to point out that we will always have the ability to revisit these community agreements, to add to them. And I am 100% open to suggestions that anybody wants to make about the information that we're gathering here, how it's going to be shared, and more importantly, how it's going to be protected, especially when it comes to the more sensitive types of knowledge that people may want to share, but not want to be made more accessible to the general public. Oh, and I like Kendra's suggestion in the chat too. If there are decision points, can we create anonymous polls for people to vote yes, no, or yes if modified, because some people are shy about speaking up. And as we go through this process over the next 12 months, we will have a lot of interactive options like that. And the polls are going to be anonymous. So yes, that's great. The opportunity for people to type things in or to give feedback without having to be forced to come on screen or to unmute themselves. So thank you for that suggestion.
Just to add to that, we will be, especially through the wisdom wells and the platforms we'll be using, we definitely recognize that everyone has different communication styles and comfort levels. So we want to make sure we're, providing different platforms and avenues for people to anonymously submit information. If you're not comfortable with your name being attached to anything, you absolutely do not have to do anything like that. So yeah, that's why we love having the chat option and, the mic option. And if I can add one more, I think it's going kind of off of what Serena was saying about what is said here stays here. I'm sure a lot of, personal information will be coming up, and just respecting that and just taking away the lesson, but not the story, and repeating those stories outside of this confidential space, I think can really create a community of trust.
Yeah, thank you, Serena. And again, if anything comes up, if there's anything that you would like to add to this at any time, you can put it in the chat. We can also turn this into a Google Doc that people can add to if they feel that after we've spent a couple of hours together or a couple of sessions together, there's something that you think needs to be reiterated or added to the list. So let's go ahead and move on because we do have a lot of introductions that we want to make, and it's important for us to know who everybody is. So let's move on to the next step.
All right, well, thank you all for that great conversation. And actually, Serena, why don't you continue along here? She already started to speak, but this is Serena, and she's an important part of our team and has a couple of things to share with you as well.
Sure, thanks, Angie and Shasta. So my name is Serena Soar, she, her pronouns. I am calling in from Tongva Lands in LA County, and I have been supporting the Tribal Climate Health Project for about a year and a half, working with Angie and Shasta on the many events, webinars, summits that we plan, and some of the other deliverables and resources that we produce for y'all. So let me know if you have any Zoom technical questions, or if you're ever having questions about the platforms we're using. I'm here to support you in that, or just getting access to resources in between webinars. Definitely let me know, and I'm happy to support you all. And it's nice to join you all today, so thanks. All right, so I'm going to share my screen super quickly. Sorry, Angie, I'm going to take over. And just show you this, which I will send the link in a moment. So you should have received this in an email, and if not, that's all right. But this is a fillable PDF worksheet, and we're going to be sending these out for each webinar, where you'll kind of see an overview of the agenda and some reflection areas, or, it's going to really mold to each of the webinars. So it will look different every time, but you'll find here just any information you need. So what I would suggest you do when I send the link in a moment is to download a copy of this to your computer and open this up in your PDF viewer so you can fill it out, take notes, or you could even print it. And since we'll be having this and a number of other materials, I really do like the shared drive idea, but I would also suggest you create a space in your computer or your personal drive or a folder or somewhere just to keep these materials and your copies of the materials that you're creating and your filled out versions of the worksheets so that you can easily access them. It's possible that you'll need to pull one up from last time at a webinar and just revisit some notes. So it'll be, I think, helpful just to, keep it somewhere on your computer where you can easily get to all of these things. So you're not going to need it quite yet, but I am going to send the link in a moment so you can all just take a second here to download it onto your computer.
Okay, great. Thank you, Serena. So while she's throwing that in the chat, just know that you'll actually have a few minutes at the very end of today to do your first reflection in that worksheet. So thanks, Serena, for putting together a nice worksheet for us and explaining it. Okay, I'm going to stop here for just a second to see, is there any questions so far on the training and what we're here to do together and any of the logistics we've talked about? Not yet.
Again,
Okay,
you can
well,
raise your hand, or you can just shout out.
I don't know how to download from a Zoom meeting, so if we could get a direct link through the email, other than that, and giving me a lesson, which I don't want to take everybody's time.
So
Yeah,
I just put the link in the chat that you should just be able to click on.
on
Okay.
the panel, you should see
Click on it.
chat.
Okay, and it's taking me somewhere else. Just do like a file save.
Yeah, let me show you. All right, so when you open up the link, it'll take you to your browser, and then there's this download button here on the top right, and you can download it wherever you need to download it.
Button on the, I have a Mac. So is that on my upper, I don't know what that is. I don't know where it is. Share, overview tab, new tab, share. Would it be under share?
It'll probably be if you have a Mac, Kimberly, it'll probably look like a disk, like compact, like a disk you put in a computer. That's like a 3x5
Have a
disk.
It is
circle with
share.
arrow pointing down.
Melanie here. It is share if you're on an whatever.
Actually, I'm going to share my screen because I've got a Mac as well. and
And
it should show you what it looks like.
And then you can send it to your mail or download it, or it gives you a bunch of options once
Okay,
you
yeah,
click share.
Yeah,
So
it's
you
got
see
the
my
little arrow.
screen, how there's a little down arrow with a line underneath it. If you have one of those, you click on that and it gives you the option to
Perfect.
download.
Perfect. Thank you.
I love it. I'm so glad that I was not on my work computer today. This is my personal laptop since I'm traveling. So, and you know what? This is exactly what we're here to do, right? Is to teach one another, even if it's how to download a PDF. So thank you for giving us that opportunity to already be helpful. And yeah, as Serena mentioned in the chat for the agenda is in the worksheet. So if you go to that, you can see the agenda. And also for future, I was going to say seminars, for future webinars, we can also send this stuff out in advance. I'm a little bit limited because I'm on travel right now, but ordinarily I would be at my work computer and be able to send out the agenda and these things in advance to folks by email. So you have them at your fingertips. So we will do that for the future to make sure that everybody has what they need in a timely way. All right. So now that we've got the worksheet thing out of the way, I think Angie, you wanted to talk about the thanks, or do you want me to do that?
I do. Let me, am I sharing? Do you all see my screen again?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Okay, so
One
this is just a
second.
little bit of. Go
I'm
ahead,
sorry.
Kimberly. Hi.
I can't go back to where I was. I did find a place to send it, and then she has to share her screen, and now my screen looks different, and I can't find any of the stuff that was there before. I
You know what?
apologize.
You know what, Kimberly? I'm just going to email it to you.
I love you. Thank you. That'll do.
All right, perfect. Okay, so all this is to, before we move into participant introductions, just recognizing the folks that have been responsible for helping make this training possible, including a thank you to the BIA, who is actually funding this and a lot of our other trainings out of the Tribal Climate Resilience Program, and our future speakers, which will include, hopefully, all of you that are comfortable doing so, and we'll talk about that more in just a little bit. Okay, so participant introductions. We're going to hear a lot from each of you, and I just wanted to show this in advance just to tell you where some of our registrants are coming from, where all of our registrants are coming from. And so I think we have a good smattering from across the country, and Shasta and I are in California, so is Serena, and so we have a lot of pals here that I think are here. It's a little extra influence here in California, but I'm excited to see that we're going to hear from experiences from across the country. But if you are somebody who is looking to network with some of the folks in your region, just know that you've got some folks around you, and we can help do some of that matchmaking. Okay, so this is the interactive piece, one of them of the day. So we'd like to do roundtable introductions. Shasta's actually going to be the one to facilitate this. We're going to have about 35 minutes for it, which is not a lot when you consider we've got 27 people on the line right now. And so we're asking you to introduce yourself briefly with your names and pronouns, what tribe do you belong to or serve, and if you could just really briefly describe the tribe's efforts to date to adapt to climate change and your role. All right, Shasta, take it away.
Thanks. So let me start with just the top of my list, and hopefully the order doesn't change too much, so that way I'm able to get through everyone. But we're doing this in order of first names. So the first name I see is Anne Turcotte.
Hey, good morning. My name is Anne Turcotte. I'm working for La Posta tribe of the Mission Indians, which is east of San Diego County. I'm now in travel, though I'm not there at the moment. And we are now implementing our adaptation effort while we are writing our adaptation plan 2. We did our vulnerability assessment with Angie. And now we are trying to do stuff while we learn to write a plan that is more adapted to our needs. That's about it.
Thank you, Anne. Next on my list is April Taylor.
Hi, everybody. I'm April Taylor. I'm a Chickasaw Nation member, but I work at the South Central Climate Adaptation Science Center. And I'm a tribal liaison for climate change. And we have a tribal engagement program that consists of 4 areas, including workforce development, building tribal capacity, matchmaking tribes and researchers. And then we have a planner to help tribes and assist them in climate adaptation planning. And so we've actually brought in Angie and did a tribal climate health training in 2019, and we've been asked to do another one. And so I'm here to learn.
Thank you, April. It's always great to have you with us. Next on the list is Carlotta Whitecrane. Are you with us, Carlotta?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay, sorry. I got a busy office. I'm Carlotta Whitecrane. I work with the Karuk Tribe, Department of Natural Resources. I am interested in finding solutions for several tribal health problems we have here. Interested to hear what other tribes are doing. We do have a vulnerability assessment that we've done here at the tribe, but I'm looking at more of, I guess, specific tribal needs for us and looking to hear what everybody else is working on. Thank you.
Thanks, Carlotta. And I was just up in your neck of the woods back in September. Man, I love it up there. So I'm jealous. I do a lot of work with folks up in your region. All right, Catherine Buchanan.
Hello, everyone. I'm the Environmental Services Director for Elk Valley Rancheria here on the North Coast of California. And we're just trying to learn how other people are surviving or even proactively trying to decrease their contribution to climate change. So I think that's an aspect that really needs to be looked at. For example, I really would like to start, we have a dirt road here that I am looking to use an alternative paving design that will actually, it's better than asphalt, and asphalt increases heat, to the heat index. So how can we take measures to decrease our contribution of heat to climate change? So that's one thing that we're looking at.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah, the transportation needs, how to make roads more accessible without also contributing to the greenhouse gas and heat issues. That's terrific. Christina Torres.
Hello, my name is Christina Torres. I am the environmental coordinator for the Viejas Band of Kumeyaay Indians. Some of the efforts that we're working on for Viejas are we just got a P2 grant. So we're working with the casino and the businesses on our reservation to do a P2 evaluation and look for alternatives there. We're also working on a composting program to get that out to the community. We're going to do like an in-vessel composting, so that way it goes quicker, so that way we can reduce our waste stream into the landfill. We're also working with a couple of organizations. We're losing our oaks to the beetles right now. So we're trying to find alternative oaks that won't be susceptible to them. So we're going to be planting some Engelmans. We got a lot of works. And we're doing a vegetative assessment to make sure that we are getting rid of invasive species along our waterways to improve our water quality as well. And I'll stop there.
Thanks, Christina. And Desi Bond is next.
Hi, my name is Desi Bond. I'm calling from Alaska, so I'm going to keep my camera off. Where our Wi-Fi is just a little bit slow. My pronouns are she, her. I'm sitting next to my sick toddler, so I apologize if she calls. I'm zooming from the Yupik land in Bristol Bay. I'm from the Chilliwack tribe in Dillingham. I'm the tribal environmental coordinator. I've worked in the position for a couple of years now. Some of our efforts for climate change, we're doing erosion monitoring. We have a lot of the sides of our, at our beaches where we commercial fish and subsistence fish. We've seen a lot of our land going into the bay. And so we just monitor that a lot. We try to get measurements before and after a storm as best as we can. We do a lot of recycling, and then I'm here to learn more of what we can do because we see a lot of climate change. Koyana, and good morning.
Thank you, Desi, and thank you for your willingness to be here when you're the earliest on the clock as far as the time differences are. And also, if you want to put any tips in the chat about how this Southern California girl cannot be freaked out about the snow that's falling right now, I would love to hear them. Next, we have Elizabeth Perez.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name's Elizabeth Perez, and thank you for that introduction there, Shasta. And just real quick, I'm on the San Luis Rey Mission Band of Mission Indians ancestral grounds, and also Los Sueños Indians ancestral grounds here in San Diego County. And I'm an enrolled tribal member of Northbrook Rancheria, Mono Indian on mom's side. Dad's side is Salt River Pima Indian. And I'm a Navy veteran, served 8 years active duty, and I started a company called GCG about over 12 years ago. And I'm a licensed B general contractor based, well, actually here in the state of California. And our focus is on clean energy and consulting. And we've done a lot of work within tribal country, and I've even dabbled in a little bit of politics and served as Deputy Secretary at the California Department of Veterans Affairs as Tribal Liaison and Secretary of Underrepresented Veterans. Part of my goal in being here, part of this group, is to learn information and see where a lot of the thoughts are going and moving in that right direction. There's a lot happening right now within Indian country, and want to be able to distribute that information to my tribe, and then also further and growth in my career. And I also just love the work that Angie and Shasta is doing, and just happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. It's so great to see you here. And thank you for your service. Eric Bissinger.
Hi, I'm Eric Bissinger. I'm with the California Air Resources Board. I'm on my laptop today, so I don't have a camera. I apologize. I believe I'm in Sacramento, so I think I'm on Miwok. I believe I'm on, but I am in the enforcement division at CARB, and I do community outreach, and I'm the tribal coordinator. So I'm just kind of here to learn. So I am not actually on a tribe, but I want to learn how to be, everything I can to help network, get the word out. One of the things I wanted to point out is our funding program here in California, which, when we catch a violator, we get some money and we can help, we can use it to implement it in tribal communities. So I wanted to point that out. I'll put a link of that in chat.
Thanks,
I know a
Eric.
lot of people, oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to mention that some people in the survey were talking about wanting to learn more about funding. So Eric, hopefully you'll be able to share more information. Thank you.
And I don't know if it's on my side, but you were breaking up a little bit there. So you might want to, yeah, and I see a few nodding heads, reiterate your introduction in the chat, if you wouldn't mind. Thanks,
Sorry
Eric.
about that. Sorry about that.
Right. It happens. It's the world we live in. I mean, that's something else for us to consider, is it's something for us to have to deal with, which is a lot of the broadband issues that you would think, how does that relate to climate change? Well, it does, because it makes it more difficult for you to participate in things like this, to get training and to interact with others if you don't have reliable broadband. All right, so now we have Jay from the Indigenous Peoples Power Project.
No, hello everyone. My name is Jaysha. I'm with the Indigenous Peoples Power Project. I am a intertribal person as well. IP3 is an organization that doesn't necessarily have a need to create a climate change plan, but we work with a lot of tribal organizations, nonprofits, tribal nations that are on the ground doing this climate justice work, having to reconcile with climate change. So I'm just here more or less for information as well. And my colleague Nick is also here as well. I'll say that our organization, we're a training organization that provides nonviolent direct action training, campaign strategy, and community organizing tools. Yeah, happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. And I love the idea of you sharing community organizing tools with us. That's really important. None of us can do this alone. And whether you're working directly for a tribe or for a tribal serving organization, we all have a role to play in this work. So thanks so much for being here. All right. Oh, I thought John Gomez was next. I don't see him anymore. Oh, there he is, because he already unmuted. John, go ahead.
Me, name is John Gomez. I'm of the Payom Cowicham, the Western people here in Southern California. I am the environmental director for the Ramona Band of Kauai. I've been with the Ramona Band for, I think, 17 years now. First as a cultural resources manager and a project director, and the last couple of years as environmental director. During that time, I've participated with the environmental department in the different capacities and looking at the climate adaptation and projects that were enacted by the tribe to address erosion control and invasive species and fuels reduction and other issues that affect the tribe's lands and their people. So I'm really looking forward to being a part of this for the next 12 months. Thank you. Mr. Lovick.
Thanks, John. I'm glad you're here, and you look like you're ready to throw some elbows in your profile picture.
Well, you know, that's my look when I go to the res when it's snowing. Unfortunately, I've been bedridden the last couple of days because I've been sick. So that's why.
Oh no.
That's why the camera's off, and I put that picture up.
Okay, well, I will just leave with that mental image. Thank you so much. All right, next we have Katrina Lenny Koenig.
Hi, Shasta. Hello, everyone. Katrina Lenny Koenig with the California Energy Commission. I'm Deputy Public Advisor and Tribal Liaison. I am here to learn, here to serve also all the California Native American tribes in California. And we do develop a lot of funding opportunities. And so this is a good opportunity for me to learn about additional, resources, opportunities, needs, et cetera, so that we can shape future funding opportunities to really address some of those needs and gaps. I will share a grant funding opportunity that we have around tribal climate research program that's being stood up in partnership with our partners at the Office of Planning and Research. And so the funding opportunity is coming up soon, and I'll share that in the chat. Thank you.
Thanks, Katrina. Next, we have Kendra from the Chickaloon Native Village.
Yeah, Willie Sagan. I work with Chickaloon Native Village in South Central Alaska, about 70 miles east of Anchorage. I am working on a climate scoping and vulnerability assessment plan with a team of tribal citizens and Western scientists. We meet monthly and go over particular topics that I write up. I also meet quarterly with our two nearest tribal neighbors, Kanik and Eklutna, and we have these really great interactive discussions. That's been really fruitful. I'm not the only one I feel like everything's kind of working sideways or working together. Like I'm still doing the scoping report, but our transportation department completed an electric vehicle study about how feasible that was here. It isn't. So we've purchased a bunch of hybrid vehicles. Transportation is also doing hazardous fuel reductions. Our facilities department has been doing recycling throughout our administration building for years. And we've got solar on our tribal health building, it's a community health building, not just tribal. Our Justice Department is doing emergency management planning and pulling in other departments to help work with that. And then our chief works mostly at the international level at the Arctic Council and just got back from COP27. So lots of moving parts. We're not always talking to each other, so we gotta work on that a little bit. But yeah, it's a little wild.
Thank you, Kendra. And yeah, thanks for mentioning COP27. One of these days, I'm going to go to one of those. I feel like we should get a group of tribal folks and people who serve tribes and go out there and make some noise. Thanks for being here. Next we have
And my
Kimberly.
camera will be also be on and off
Okay.
as I feed the wood stove and get the old dog out the door and things like that. So
Gotcha. Well, we'd love to see the dog at some point. Pet introductions are totally welcomed. All right, Kimberly, you're up.
Good morning, Methoalexis. I belong to the Sierra Nevada Mountains in California. The Cosumne and the American Rivers are my watersheds. Tumile Nisinan Miwok, also known as the El Dorado Band of Miwok Indians. I'm the chairwoman of my tribe. I'm a founder of a native nonprofit, Cosumne Culture and Waterways. I'm a culture keeper and a storyteller, which is my true gift. We do a lot of work in our environment. We don't have all the titles and all the paperwork and all the contracts, but we water monitor our the Cosumne River watershed, which is the only undammed river in the Sierra Nevada mountains. We want to make it wild and scenic so that the salmon can come home. A lot of logistics. We've done a lot of work, made a lot of progress over the last 6 years. We recently had a land back and had a fundraiser. We raised the funds we needed, and the intention is for another nonprofit to give our nonprofit 320 acres of our homeland with the American River or the Cosumne River running through the middle of it. We have land on both sides. It's a beautiful piece of land. It's a village side of my people, just upstream from where my grandmother was born. So I do a lot of work, a lot of consultation, a lot of cultural preservation. I was at the county plenary water board meeting yesterday as a tribal representative, as they're planning, what our county's going to look like in the next 20 years. So there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of knowledge to be had. And I'm glad to be here to share the stories, gain some more knowledge, and be of service. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairwoman, and congratulations on the return of your lands. That's a great thing. Okay, next we have Leela Rainey Brown.
Hey everyone, my name's Leela. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm here with the Northwest Portland Area Indian Health Board. We are a tribal consortia that provides, and I'm on the environmental health team. So we're an epi data center as well, tribal epicenter. But my little corner is very specific. I do lead risk reduction for young children, which a lot of people do not realize is climate change related. Lead risk goes up as the temperatures go up. But in the past, I was very grateful to help and participate on the tribal climate vulnerability assessment for the Nez Perce tribe. And my team currently has so many really amazing projects that have to do with climate change, including traditional ecological knowledge, data that, because we're a tribal epicenter, all that data is able to stay completely confidential. And so we're able to be a trusted partner in facilitating multiple tribes talking about their experiences with long-term climate adaptation, and then, bringing them together to talk about it all as a group. Also, we just received a grant to start tracking clinical effects of climate change. So like people who experience heat stroke or heat related illnesses or any, climate change related disaster, illness or injury, because, that's not a grant that I wrote. I'm pretty new to my team, but that's a huge gap in terms of capturing the effects. So I'm pretty new and really grateful to be here. Thank you so much for holding the space. And our region is Oregon, Washington, and Idaho. So I'll be hitting the road all next week to travel all the way out to the Idaho-Montana border and, take some samples. It's a really rad group of communities that we work with. And it looked like you said there were 5 people from the North or from Oregon, but So yeah, we're over here. Yeah, there's many, it's like anything anyone's working on, climate change will affect it, right? So yeah, and I think there might be opportunities for our team to spread the word or assist in grant funding for climate change related stuff that tribes can do, or tribal organizations.
Great, thank you. Always glad to have people who work in the health space because it's so important for this work. Now, my friend Melanie McCaver, a fellow TIPO from Northern California. Melanie.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, we also suffer from low speed internet, but I sent somebody else to a consultation on 2 fiber lines we're supposed to receive today, so hopefully I'll improve. So yeah, my name's Melanie McCaver. I'm the THPO here at the Bear River Band of the Wiyat Mattole people, still called of Ronerville Rancheria, but there's a name change in progress because Ronerville was, well, an old white landowner guy. And we have 3 programs under the THPO office here. So obviously the THPO, but also the cultural program and the tribal garden. And the tribal garden project just started a year ago, and we're erecting a greenhouse actually today with the volunteers from the Food Sovereignty Lab at Cal Poly Humboldt. And it's yeah, it's a work in progress, but lots of plans for integrating, you know, composting, food sustainability, health and wellness, and of course, community. So gardens tend to be community hubs. And then on the THPO side, we're doing a lot in terms of climate change in regards to sea level rise. So we have a lot of village sites and other sites that are down along Humboldt Bay. And then for the Mattole area down in the what's called the Lost Coast, King Range area. And so we have, for example, meetings with the BLM to discuss basically creating a burial site in Petrolia to address some of the climate changes, the climate impacts. Currently, we, you know, have human remains that come up. You know, it's awful. Honestly, we have to go often. There's just so much erosion, and so we're working with the Sinkione and the BLM and a few others on that project. So that's kind of a big project. We are in the process of working on the programmatic agreement in light of climate change with the BLM, including the head climate change person there. And then the ancestral territory extends inland. And so we also have areas where there's been severe fire. And so in those areas, we've been working with geospatial people, including our own geospatial assistant, to kind of create hazard maps in a sense that of course don't disclose particular sites, but give us and the Forest Service and other agencies an idea of how best to try to mitigate or protect cultural resources in these extreme fire areas. And we had recently, we had an entire village site discovered and exposed, and unfortunately severe looting followed because there really wasn't anything in place. And so, I mean, that's just a couple of examples of the climate change impacts that we're dealing with. And so working on ways to mitigate or, you know, avoid those impacts. And then the tribal garden project. And like somebody else had mentioned, we have, you know, kind of disparate departments where we should be working together more often. But the ENR department has put in a lot of solar panels, and I know that they're working on all that whole side of it more as well.
Thanks, Melanie. So we're getting close to time where we want to take a break. So I know there's still a couple people who need to introduce themselves. So sorry, I keep interrupting with all my reactions, but let's move on to Michelle.
Hi guys, my name is Michelle Clark. I am an environmental health specialist with Southern Plains Tribal Health Board. We are a public health board and an epidemiological center that serve the different tribes in Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. Some of the work that we've recently been doing specifically to climate change has to do with natural disasters and emergencies and mitigation due to those from different climate variations. We recently received a wastewater surveillance grant to kind of look more at the data of the watershed health and of community populations. Something that I'm really interested in is getting to learn how to do more of the vulnerability assessments so we can implement those into doing more hazard mitigation plans for our tribes. So I'm really excited to learn more and gain all those expertise. So happy to be here.
Thank you so much. Osamu.
Hey everybody, I'll try to speak fast. I am the Tribal Climate Specialist for the California Department of Public Health's Climate Change and Health Equity section. And I'm currently supporting the Mono Lake Kutsadika Tribe, Redwood Valley Rancheria, and Tule River Tribe to help them integrate health concerns into their climate vulnerability assessments and communications. I am a planner by training and can provide pro bono assistance to California tribes with planning services, working with climate change and health data, and orientations to the different funding opportunities from state agencies that we see some representatives here from today, like CARB and DEC. And so I'm here to learn, but also really looking to connect with folks serving California tribes in particular to offer help if you want it. And if you decide there are projects and plans you want to pursue as a result of these awesome trainings. So feeling really blessed to be in this space, and I'll drop my email in the chat if anybody wants to connect.
Thanks, Osamu. Next we have, hold on. Next we have Paula.
My name is Paula Wayman. I'm with the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma Health Services. I'm here to learn. I'm an advocate for making our world a better place. Choctaw Nation does have an environmental department. I reached out to one of them a couple of days ago, and Choctaw Nation does have a plan to adapt and prepare for climate change. But of course, it's ongoing surveillance and the needs change. We also have a Brownsfield program. I am a registered nurse here at one of the clinics, and if the climate changes, so does the health of our people. So that's something that concerns me for the future of my grandchildren and their children. So I'm just here to learn and maybe help out wherever I can. Thank you.
Thank you. We're glad to have you. Sammy.
Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. My name is Sammy Cordova. My pronouns are she, they. I'm the Grants Development Manager for the Pama Band of Mission Indians, Luiseno Indians, in northern San Diego, just down the road from everyone at Paula. We don't have an environmental department or like a natural resources department. So, we sort of have a lot of things going on in different areas. So we did recently, I think in September, started 2 California Climate Action Corps fellows, one that's focusing on extreme heat and the other on wildfire. So I'll be working with them on doing a climate vulnerability assessment and then climate adaptation planning over the next year or so. And then we also are receiving direct technical assistance from FEMA to sort of wrap our hazard mitigation plan update into a larger sort of climate adaptation scope. So we are sort of at the beginning stages. We've applied for a bunch of different kind of climate adaptation project funds and haven't hit, a big jackpot yet, but trying to get there, and especially having sort of the plans in place and having our own data, because right now we don't really have any of our own data, I think will be very helpful in our efforts moving forward.
Thank you so much for being here. And yes, let's talk because we're neighbors.
Exactly.
And next we have Serena.
Tani washte elemetak yapi chante washte na pe chiuzapi Serena tateo tu achemachi yapi nagi chaze wamako naka chante queen Chicago, Illinois in Elwati Hamataham Chirikawa Apache Yoite Oglala Lakota Oyate. And I'm grateful to be here. My name is Serena Windy City. I am Chiricahua Apache, Oglala Lakota. And I work for the American Indian Health Service of Chicago. I am a behavioral health specialist, healthcare provider, specializing in alcohol and substance. But I'm also cross-trained on epidemiology, prevention, missing murdered Indigenous relatives, environmental and social justice. So I do a lot of advocacy work. Been in the field for 27 years. I'm here to learn more about our climate change because it has been affecting especially our seniors, our elders here. We have over 67,000 Indigenous people in the land of Chicago, in the state of Illinois, in Chicago, where I work. And I'm on the lands of the Kickapoo, Ojibwe, Odawa, and the Ochete Shakoin. And I am just grateful to be here. So thank you for allowing me to be here. And I look forward to networking and speaking with all of you and learning very much from this. Aho, lamae.
Thank you, Serena. Tina, she's on my team. Tina Fernandez, Paula Band of Mission Indians.
Yes, so I'm Tina Fernandez, and as Shasta said, I work for her. And my role is the environmental educator. And so I've got to work on some of these tribal climate health projects. Let's see, some other things that I'm working on are a sustainability dashboard, kind of to serve as a place for community members to easily access information like the air quality. I've also worked on like a swap shop project to kind of help reduce waste from the waste stream. And I'm also currently working on getting a native seed library going, which is something that I'm kind of excited about, and maybe sharing more with the individual that was talking about getting their community garden going with Cal Poly Humboldt. That sounded really cool. So, yeah.
Thanks, Tina. Glad to see the office doesn't burn down while I'm out. And then Zoe Roberts.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, my name is Zoe. My pronouns are she, her. I work for the Upper Snake River Tribes Foundation, and we work for the Shoshone-Paiute tribe, the Shoshone-Bannock tribe, the Fort McDermott Paiute Shoshone tribe, and the Burns Paiute tribe. And some things that our organization has done to adapt to climate change includes like climate vulnerability assessment. We have a lot of outreach and youth education programs that are centered around climate education. And more recently, which I just came from a meeting, so I'm a little bit late, sorry about that, but a climate adaptation database, which is a website that we're creating for all tribal communities across the nation to use. And essentially it will be a tool where you can type in wildfire and there will be a bunch of actions that your tribe can take to adapt to that impact from climate change. So that's just a little bit of what we're doing right now.
That's great. Thank you, Zoe. And then a couple of folks joined us when I had already gotten past their name. So Melody Lopez, my friend, introduce yourself.
No, Melody and Matiwan, I hope it's Nitlakai. Good afternoon from the Autumn Druid, which is also known as Tucson, Arizona. And I am Hopi Navajo, Pueblo, and Mexican. I am the owner of Indigenous Strategies, and it's really interesting. I've been working in environment now for the last 10 years, helping tribes develop and assess where they are with their climate vulnerabilities. But the reason I'm really here is because I work with youth. And the youth have a lot of environmental concerns. They seem to kind of fall along two lines. One is like, we're completely depressed, there's no future, the world's on fire, I don't want to get out of bed. And then we have the youth who are like, you know what? I can create change. I am powerful. I need to be on boards, create policy, and be listened to. And so I work with both of those youth in climate resilience. And I'm also a mental health professional. So I heard someone introducing themselves like, I work in murder and missing Indigenous relations. I work in a lot of different educational programs. So I'm kind of everywhere around here. And all of these things are connected, because I will say about when we talk about I'm excited, Shasta. When we talk about murdered and missing Indigenous relations, that violence against Earth is mirrored against the violence against Indigenous bodies and Indigenous women. So I bring that up because they are connected as far as I'm concerned. Thank you.
Thanks, Melody. I'm excited to see you here. And then I'm just going to read one out real quick. My friend and colleague Celso Villegas from the Tohono O'odham Nation was here, and he had to step away, but he is the director of water resources for the TO Nation. And they have a climate adaptation plan, a climate change plan that they are implementing. So when Celso is back with us, he's going to have a lot to share with the group. Thank you all so much, and thank you for your patience, but introductions are so important that we know one another and can start developing these relationships. Oh yeah, and Melody said Celso is an elder for your youth programs. Everybody here is amazing, and I'm so grateful for you being here and sharing about yourselves. And I think as far as our agenda is concerned, we are at a brief rest break time. Is that right, Angie?
Yes, let's take 5. Thank you so much, everybody.
Get a snack.
We'll be back at 11:17 if you're on the Pacific. And so this minute 17. We'll see you soon. Thank you so much. All right, everybody, let's come on back. If you're there, come back. I'm very alone here on cam. Glad we got a little break in. Nice to see you. All right. So,
I'm here. Real quick, Angie, I want to point out that somehow I missed Nick. Nick, I am so sorry. Somehow you disappeared from my list. If you're here and you want to introduce yourself, we would love to hear from you.
Oh, sure. Thank you for that. Shalawiti, Nick Sanford Bellegarde, Waumnashi. Hello, everyone. I'm Nick Sanford Bellegarde here in Chinook Territory, Portland, Oregon. I go by he, him pronouns. I am Chinook, Rogue River, Tututni, Chippewa Cree, and enrolled Confederated Tribes of Siletz. As Jaysha was saying, I work with Indigenous Peoples Power Project. I'm the communications coordinator here. And what our organization does is we train nonviolent direct action strategies for tribes, organizations, and people taking action in defense of their homelands. And so how this information applies to us is basically as another tool to prepare our communities and people who are taking action, on the ground and on the front lines, doing frontline work in protest and movement spaces. Anyway, I'm really excited to be here, and I'm really excited to share space and learn from you all. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick, and I apologize again. I never want anybody to feel like they're not being seen or that they're not being welcomed into the space. So thank you, and I think we're going to move on now to the breakouts, which Angie is going to explain.
Yeah, okay, so we got some more work to do here. I just want to say I'm super honored to be sharing this space with you all. You all are going to be the experts in this training series that we're lucky enough to be together for the next 12 months. So I'm vigorously taking notes of all the kinds of expertise you all have to share. My role is going to be in trying to form the right buckets and spaces for these conversations so you all can exchange knowledge between each other. Speaking of that, this is one of those spaces. So we're going to spend some time in a breakout. We are going to ask small groups of you to get together. We're going to break you out on our end and just have a little time to chat with each other, get to know each other a little bit better, but talk specifically about a few things. And we're actually going to invite you to even capture some of this information in a mural board, which we're going to show you how to use. The topics we're asking you to talk about for maybe slightly under 20 minutes is your biggest adaptation successes, challenges, and stuck points. In what areas would you like to further your capacity to help tribes adapt to climate change? And what can you help your peers learn? And so I'm actually going to show you what the mural board looks like. And Serena's going to put the link in the chat. And she's going to talk to you a little bit about actually how to use mural. And just know as we go into these breakouts, we're going to come back out of it with time for report out. And so we're going to ask you to assign somebody to be the report out person for your group. And we're going to try to see if we can come up with some commonalities through a group discussion at the end. All right, so Serena, I'm going to pull this up and invite you to tell us about mural and how it works.
Sure, thanks, Angie. All right, so I did send the link in the chat. You should be able to open that up. You do not have to enter your name if you don't want to, but everyone is an anonymous little icon, animal, insect down there. And what you can do is there's going to be a box for each breakout group. You'll see what number breakout group you're in. So try to find that number here on the outline on the right side, which you can expand or close by pressing that square with the little list inside of it, Angie, if you would like to demonstrate on the top where that outline button is. Maybe it's easier if I share my screen.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, let me just show you all where I'm clicking here. So here on the top right, you'll see this outline icon, and that will pop out the outline here. So let's say you're in group 5, you can click breakout group 5, and it's going to take you down to this area, and you can just click around to drag and adjust your view. And you'll see here what the prompts are. You'll want to assign someone to report out, and to add notes, all you do is double click, and a little sticky note will appear. You can change the size here. You can type some notes in here and just try to take notes of what you want to report out on so that you can just easily refer to that. And as a reminder, we're just thinking about some commonalities that we'll want to report on. But if you're needing support with any of this, you can call us into your room and we can help you out with that. But just simple double click, and that's kind of the most of what you'll be doing. Let me know if you have any questions.
If anybody has any access issues or issues writing things down, maybe just, somebody in your group could be a note taker as well and capture it for everybody. All right, folks. So are there questions here before we go in? We're going to throw you in a breakout and leave you to your own devices until 11:40, at least Pacific. So on minute 40. Okay, Serena, release us. We'll see you soon. Thank you and have a great chat. All right, what do you guys think? Should we join a group or really hang?
I purposely did not put us in so we could jump around. So
Yeah, I think that there might be a little bit of a learning curve on mural for some of our folks.
Should we pop in and see if we can help?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember, how do you get into somebody else's room?
Oh, you should have a window. You just join whatever one you want.
Do you see it
I
under
think
the
it works a
breakout
little bit differently
rooms?
on Mac. Oh, here we go. Okay, I see them. All right.
Dang, room 4 only has 2 people.
Oh, should I just move someone?
I think at this point,
No, I'll jump into that one.
Okay.
Okay.
I could also move Tina.
Oh, that wouldn't be a bad idea. Oh, well, she's there. So yeah, it's gonna be tough to get through the rest on time, I think.
Yeah, so let's see. We're gonna have, where did my window go that had the timing? So yeah, breakouts until 40, 10 minutes for report outs. Yeah, I had a feeling we might be going over. So I would say for the reflection and stuff, maybe we don't take time during the webinar to do that, but just let them know, like, try to get that done today while it's fresh in your mind.
I think I'm just gonna share really briefly some of the thoughts on changes to the outline. Things we're hearing, just to let them know we're going to be adjusting the outline a bit, still open to input, and then spend a couple of minutes in the peer sharing sign up. So at least they're get a foot in, but we don't necessarily need them to finish it.
Okay.
And then, yeah. Okay. So we'll end up with 10 minutes for everything after the report out, if we're lucky.
Yeah. Okay.
It's so funny, 2 hours sounds like a long time.
I know.
It just goes right by.
It is not. Yeah, I think, just because of the introductions this first time, that was really important. So I'm glad we took the time to do that. So
Oh my gosh, we have an amazing group.
I know I learned so much just from listening to everyone's work that they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want?
So yeah, we'll have to just be we're going to be really creative and just thoughtful about how we organize the agendas and the conversations here. Make sure we pull out the best that we can.
Yeah, and I'm already thinking about follow-up email and including all these actions, like signing up for the peer sharing thing and filling out the worksheet. So I can drop something up after.
Oh.
And then would it make sense for you to send that?
Or Shasta. Shasta seems like she's been interested in being the email sender.
I'm gonna drop something. And then also, we're like closing registration, right? Like we need to remove the registration link, or do you want to keep it open for another webinar or another month?
I think keep it open. I think if any of these people was like, oh, this is useful, I want to invite a friend, they can still do it.
Okay.
And like, I did send it to Lori. She probably didn't see it, but it actually, like, she would still need to register.
Yeah. Let's see, how are people doing on your roll? Okay. They're adding in stickies.
Oh, good. I'm not looking. Let's see.
We got group 1.
Oh.
Or
Why
2.
don't you and I go scan these groups and see if we can provide technical help for Muriel?
Do you want
to take 1, 2, 3? I don't. Oh, actually, yeah. Why don't you do 1, 2, 3, 4 because you're better at it in general, and I'll do 5, 6, 7.
Okay, yeah, 1 and 2 haven't added anything in yet, so let me go see what's up. All right. Okay. How'd I go? Oh, you're muted.
I was confused. I feel like something was weird. I could hear a background noise of some other group when I entered number 7. I couldn't tell if somebody was like maybe on 2 devices and was unmuted, maybe, and like
Oh.
listening in on 2 breakouts at once.
Oh,
Anyway,
interesting.
and then I didn't think they could see me. I actually tried to say something once and like nobody responded. But they seemed to be jamming. They were just talking. I think maybe they weren't ready to post it yet, but they're doing it now.
Yeah, I can see some stuff in there. Who is in 7? If you want,
No,
I can
it's
go
like-
jump in there, see if there's any success. But I mean, I see them adding stuff, so I'm not too worried.
I think we're good. And we're going to close out in a couple minutes anyways, right?
Yes. Yeah,
How
group
much?
number 2.
Yeah,
Group number 2 needed a lot of support with that.
Okay.
But group number 1, they were coming up with a strategy of like, oh, like a rectangle should be a success, or this other shape should mean something. So I think that they were definitely, chugging along. Seemed to have a good grip.
Yeah. Okay, good. Uh-oh, am I stuck?
Oh, looks like you are.
Oh, that's not good.
Also, someone in the group wasn't able to share their screen, so I think we'll need to have Shasta change the settings in the future so that participants can share their screen.
Okay. Oh no.
Okay, you're back.
Yeah, little touch and go right now.
Yeah.
Ah, that's a fun place to be paused. Oh my God, embarrassing. All right. I'm a little worried. Like there's 7 groups and they're supposed to each summarize like a report out. I don't know about that. That's not gonna happen.
So they only need to share 1 to 2 commonalities. So maybe we tell them each to take a minute max.
Okay.
And that could really just mean like reading a couple of these stickies.
Yeah.
Well, group 6 has it going on.
That's a Samu in there making cute pentagons.
Love that.
Oh man, they're getting some work done over there.
I feel like some people we're gonna need to learn, who really likes using these platforms and like distribute their groups accordingly. So it's more
Yeah.
even.
And who's already hating us.
Okay, let me close them out now.
I think that's a good idea. Although there was a clock, and so they might get a little. Well, all breakout rooms will close in 56 seconds.
Yeah, I gave them a 2-minute broadcast warning, which was probably really a minute and a half. And then, yeah, they have 60 seconds now.
Yep.
And then I'm on the bottom of the mural there. I created a little summary area where I'm gonna take some stickies to summarize the report out.
You're like gonna copy them and paste them over.
I'm gonna write probably verbally what's being said, and then I'll go back after and look at the stickies. Hello, how'd it go?
All right, let me get my screen shared again. You can see that, right, Serena?
Yes. All right, looks like everyone is back. Or most people.
Hey.
Well, hello. All right.
Everyone's back, Angie.
Did everybody solve all their problems in that 20 minutes?
Yep.
We identified it
goodness.
anyways.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are busy in these groups. I can see the post-it. So what we're gonna do right now is just give whoever was assigned to be a report out about, a minute or less if you can, to just try to sum up one or two commonalities in the group. What came up in your group that folks kind of what were some themes? So why don't we just go in order of each breakout room? And so if you don't mind, we'll start with, should we start with one?
Let's do it.
Right. Who's in one and who's a reporter? I think that was, I see Asama, Serena, and Tina was in that group, right? Is that right?
We actually put our stuff in number 6. We weren't sure which breakout room we were in, so we just picked one and started filling it out.
All right, well then go. Room 6.
Okay, so yeah, some of the things that we discussed was, having low staff capacity. So just hang on 1 second, I just closed my screen. Yeah, so if we could increase staff capacity and improve like coordination across departments, we thought that would be really helpful for that. And then there is a lack of resources, I guess, to collect climate change data and health data. And then the federal and state bias, only respecting sovereignty when convenient. And then basic life needs that aren't being met, like clean water, and just then there's like the community involvement, and also a need for more support for the elders, so some way to increase the means for that. So we thought some ways to help our peers learn was to share resources and information. Oh yeah, okay, so we have this one also. Native definition of health doesn't just center on humans. That was discussed. Yeah, and we talked about that. Okay, and that was ours.
All right. Well, thank you. You guys are already giving me lots of ideas for ways we might structure these conversations in the next months. All right, let's go to number 2, group 2. That was Carlotta, Michelle, and Nick.
We'll go ahead and talk for our group. Nick's not feeling the greatest, so I'll let his voice have a little break. We did have some technical difficulties, so ignore our empty board. Some of our biggest successes were becoming a recognized nonprofit in the last 3 years for Nick and his group, and as well as trying to use surveys and analytical data to talk about environmental health from different triggers of climate adaptation. So those were successes. Challenges are definitely trying to get buy-in from different groups, trying to get funding, trying to get stable, consistent work. I guess we're working on a lot of grants, so it's, every 2 years it kind of changes again. Areas you'd like to further your capacity. We talked about building capacity through technical support. We talked about maybe using trainings and guides presented in this training to educate workers. We talked about being more involved in climate adaptation planning and vulnerability assessments. And what can we learn from our peers? Everything. And what can we help our peers learn? I think Nick talked about using art and messaging as a tool for education for individuals who are not in tribal spaces about the effects of climate change on our Indigenous partners. fighting for guides and camps, and for us it's helping others with funding opportunities and technical assistance. So those are what we came up with.
Awesome. All right, guys, to get through the next few, we don't have too much time left. We've got a couple more things to do. We're going to have to go a little faster. So try to just sum up the top couple of themes if you can, and then we'll keep the rest here and we'll use them when we try to design conversations. Number 3.
Yes, so our group 3, what we noticed is that, of course, what we shared was that we are focused on helping the tribes either build on their climate plan or help them establish a climate plan. And one of the examples that I gave is, we have a tribe that we're working with that does have their climate plan, and we're building upon that with their overall master plan that is, what they're looking for is within the next 30 to 50 years. And one of the things I thought that was interesting that I have not heard, but I guess it might be common, and sorry about my dog, he's a dog cat, is climate, and also dealing with climate deniers within governmental roles. And it's hard to get through those barriers, and that's some of the challenges that they were facing. And there's some more there you can read. So, but in the sake of time, I'll pass it on.
Perfect, Liz. Thank you so much. All right, group 4.
Hi, yep, I will speak for group 4. So I was very lucky and had April, Taylor, and Shasta. I explained to them that I am somewhat fresh out of school, about a year, and they have a lot more experience than me. So I learned a lot from them. That was really great. But some things that we connected on and successes would be a tribal youth climate camp that I hosted this year, and NICALC that April Taylor works on, which is a huge opportunity for tribal youth. And that was really great for me to learn about and pass on to the tribes that I work for. We talked about some challenges that we face are low resources, and that our tribes lack capacity, staff, income to address climate change in a way that's meaningful. It also takes a really long time to learn things. I had mentioned that our organization has been around for 20 years, and it took until 2022 to have our first ever youth engagement camp. And so it just takes a really long time to get things done. There's a lot of information gaps that we have to face, and a lot of tribes just don't know what their resources are. Funding just being a point that holds a lot of tribes back, especially lower income or lower resource tribes. One thing that we did talk about as well was how federal agencies will sometimes schedule things that conflict with cultural ceremonies or seasons. And so a lot of tribes might miss the opportunity to comment or be a part of different discussions because there is a non-tribal person kind of running it. So just being more aware and respectful of different cultural responsibilities and ceremonies.
Thank you, Zoe, in group 4. This is all very helpful. Group 5.
Hi, group 5 struggled with the technology, but I will say that we had stimulating conversation. It was really amazing. Kimberly does such good work. We really just focused on our adaptation successes and challenges, with the overlapping successes being that we both feel deep connectedness to the earth and the responsibilities of being a human being to the earth. Then also the use of traditional storytelling to share scientific knowledge and histories. And in challenges, both of us felt a need to integrate what we're doing with tribal policies. And then also lastly, how to keep Indigenous thought and leadership models when working with non-Native agencies. So I'll let the next group go.
Thank you, Melody. In group 5, great stuff. So group 6, I don't know where you put your stuff.
I was having technical difficulties. I kept getting an error that I was in move mode, and so it wouldn't let me add stickies, but Anne took notes and she'll be presenting for us.
All right. So our commonalities were to challenge and some success were outreach, how to involve the community and get their interest. And I'm sorry, I might need help there because I did not take that many notes. And so we, did share a bit of also our struggle with resources, capabilities, because it's hard sometimes to get funding. Like John said, on this community, they are off-grid and it's hard to get a funding that is adapt to their situation, and there is nothing that fit quite yet. So if you want to complete, John or Sammy, you are welcome to do so.
Thanks, Anne. And group 6, and finally group 7.
Okay, so for our group, some of the challenges as staff capacity that we noticed, some of us are just one member, and then the lack of actually having a climate adaptation plan, getting those developed and being able to work with the other departments to make that happen. Some successes, having recycling programs, composting programs, really having the community behind those and involved. Some things that we would like to see happen is to have some network to either locally or maybe something even like this where that we can lean on and bounce off ideas to help get through some of those stuck points that we have or some of those challenges. Yeah, ladies, is there anything else that I missed on there?
I think you did great, Christina. Thank you.
Thank you all. Really good conversations. I can tell this is going to be a fantastic group. So in the interest of time, I just have a couple more things to get through with you before we release for the day, and we'll see you next month. So all the input that you're providing in your introductions and in that exercise, it's going to help us, like we said, co-create this training over the course of the next 12 months so that it's as effective for you as possible. And really the deliverables out of each of these is going to be great conversations, potentially you all as speakers, potentially bringing in any outside speakers, some instruction, potentially some activities. And at the end of the day, co-creating one of these, at least one wisdom well per topic that we go over, meaning that this is going to be a compilation of what is the knowledge amongst ourselves that we would like to keep and maybe share with other tribes. And so it's really just a document. It's a document with shared knowledge, resources, the kinds of things that you guys are saying you need and you wish you could share with others. So I'm excited to do it. The survey results were really interesting in terms of what you guys said you were most interested in. And so all this means is that some of the topics came out as like clearly you all are super interested, and some of them you were maybe on the fence about. And so I'm taking that into account as giving us some wiggle room in terms of what how we shape the schedule. I wanted to mention that some other topics that were addressed, that we might address, that came up in the survey are things like energy, environmental preparedness, improved community outreach. We're hearing that a lot today. Ensuring tribal experiences are considered in local, regional, and state climate planning. And I'm hearing that a lot today too, just like the role of tribal advocacy outside of the tribal processes themselves. Incorporating adaptation into hazard mitigation plans. We're hearing that today too. Data sharing. I'm super excited about the epi folks and the epidemiology folks we have here and the other data experts. Funding, hear you loud and clear. Silos and creating networks. So funding environmental monitoring for health related metrics, being an effective and trusted intermediary. So, and then aside from that, I have a long list from today. So we're going to need a little time to go back in and really update, but I think there's some wiggle room in the schedule. These first couple, actually the first 4, you all were highly interested in, and I don't think there's a lot of adjustments I have to make under the title, but I think there's ways to fit some of the things you all are needing some knowledge sharing on into these sessions. And so like next month, we're going to talk about approaches to shaping climate health adaptation based on the tribe's unique needs. We can fit some of these topics that you're bringing up starting right away in December. But where I think one that we could probably strike and we have a spot to fill is this one: managing ongoing planning, decision-making, and progress tracking amongst tribal departments and other stakeholders. That was the lowest interest one, and I actually think some of it can just go along over here where we have another topic that's kind of in the same vein: operations and management and intertribal and interagency collaboration. I think we can do a lot with that, especially in some of these other things you guys are bringing up, like and networks. So we'll be thinking about how to fill marches, and I actually have one suggestion there that we'll have to talk through maybe at our next meeting. But I'm hearing here that we might want to really have at least one meeting where we're talking about best practices and challenges by exposure, where we're in these other ways we're diving in types of strategies, but I'd like to talk about how we're reacting to actual exposure. So maybe we have some breakouts. Folks want to talk about wildfire, watersheds, or water insecurity and food insecurity and heat. So I'll play around with that, and I'll propose a whole new schedule, or not a whole new schedule, but some tweaks in the schedule next time. I do want to let you all know that we have this peer sharing sign up. So Serena's going to add a chat linked in the chat. And what this is doing is actually, we're really serious about wanting to elevate your voices and have you really be the experts here in the room. And I want to have at least 2 attendees, registrants of these trainings, be actual speakers during each of these events that we can plan for up front, aside from all the other good interactive conversation we have. So you're going to see me actually reaching out proactively to some of you that in the survey said, yes, I'm willing to speak, and had a high level of experience in a certain topic. And so you're gonna probably hear from me, and I'm asking you just to pull that up and go ahead and mark there, either where if I suggested you could speak onto something and you really aren't comfortable, you can strike it off. Or if you're not there and you want to add something, you can. It doesn't even have to be connected to one of the webinar topics. If you have something you want to talk about, like youth camps or invasive species, something that you can bring to the table, add it. We'll find a place for it. So that's us. That's what we came to do today. And in terms of wrapping ourselves up on our first, we just want to thank you so much for being part of this training community. When we're done, there is a place for reflection in that worksheet that we provided. So we'd ask you to just spend a couple of minutes and just kind of take in and process and reflect on some of what we did here today together. And on that worksheet, you'll also see a suggested reading. We would encourage you over the next month to read a suggested reading, come back and start with that suggested reading at our next session in December. It's not a homework assignment, but it's capacity building, it's knowledge building. And so this is coming from the Federal Office of Climate Change and Health Equity. They have a climate and health outlook. It's a resource, so we want to make sure you're aware of it. We'll talk through it at our next meeting after you had a chance to take a scan. Our next meeting is going to be December 15th, same bat time, same bat channel. And like I said, we're going to talk about approaches to scoping climate and health based tribes' unique needs. Okay, so that is us on the dot. And we're so happy to be spending more time with you. We'll just be seeing you next time. You can always reach out if you have questions in the meantime. Thanks for your interaction today.
Thanks, everybody.
See you next month.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a great one.